Hi, this is Shadi Atia, professor at Liège University, and I'm going to talk today about note-taking. Note-taking is a very important skill that young and early career professionals need to learn, and in this presentation I will talk about the best practices related to note-taking. Well, to be more specific, who is the audience of this presentation? It's mainly early career professionals and researchers who are looking to learn tips and tricks on how to take notes effectively during meetings. Now, first of all, what is note-taking? Note-taking is simply a skill that is done thoughtfully and requires active attention and critical thinking. Simply, note-taking is about summarizing core concepts precisely in your words to come back to the ideas and action discussed during a meeting, lecture, or a conference. In this sense, it's about synthesizing your conversation or your presentation you are attending into key takeaways. Well, why should you take notes in general, and why should you learn how to take notes? Well, taking notes is a top habit of successful people. Anybody who is looking to be effective in his work environment or in her work environment is looking always forward to be efficient, to trace the conversation, be able to summarize notes, to come back to them. And therefore it is a very important skill. One of the top skills of any successful people is to take notes and track these notes and get access so that they can go back and visit them. Well, so why should we take notes, and why should we do it in a serious manner and professional manner? Well, taking notes will help you recall information that would otherwise get lost. And taking notes sharpens your focus, because writing notes engage your brain directly while you are taking the notes, which is a beneficial way to help you to grasp and retain information. And that's the core purpose of taking notes, retaining essential information. For sure, taking notes is a document also of proof in case there's a conflict at any time in a long process in a working environment. You can go back to these notes and you can check and you make sure that there is a validation of what was discussed earlier, and check what was the agreements or the expectations through the documentation. Also, you learn to do it well, and you will contribute great value to your team meetings. In many situations, meetings are under pressures. Teams are looking to deliver products or services, solutions, and they go frequently from meeting to a meeting, and with the routine and the rhythm of life, teams get under pressure, easily forgetting taking notes and documenting their own words and statements. And in the same time, they change very sharply their goals and their ways of working without tracking what was agreed on. So in this sense, learning how to take notes can be very beneficial for your meeting, because you can become like a backbone of all conversation and agreement that were made. Well, how to take notes? Taking notes seems to be simple, but it is about highlighting key points. It's about leaving space between entries when you write your notes so that you can come back and fill missing information. So you have to be strategical when you fill up notes, not densifying all your writings in your notebook. You have also to use recommendedly pen and paper, and I will explain later why. And it's also recommended to prepare a written report immediately after the meeting. So you will need to write a minute or a report that summarizes what has been discussed during the meeting or the conference or the event. Well, now, when should I take notes? You should take notes in several events. It can be personal, it can be in a professional context, but in general we take notes during meetings, we take notes during interviews, we take notes during brainstorming sessions, and in this sense we can track back what was thought or elaborated and make sure that there is evidence for ideas and concepts. Also, educational settings, you take notes when you are in lecture, taking a course, attending a training, because then you can visit back your material. Now let's talk about why pen and pencil. As you can see in the presentation here, the ability the cognitive ability of the brain to retain information is much stronger with pen and paper, because simply you have an easier ability to sketch and to draw and to create diagrams, and in the same time having a physical activity who in the same time help you to memorize the content, compared to electronic and tablet and laptops, which concludes that at the end you have a better memorizing performance when you write your notes. And believe me, in many situations when people lose their notes if they are written in a digital way, it's very difficult to memorize them back and rewrite them. But when you have something written already within a certain delay, you can memorize still easier what you wrote, and it still sits in your memory. So it's recommended always to use pen and paper and to consult your physical notes. Later on you can scan them and digitalize them, but in general it's recommended to write your notes. Now, how to take my notes? First of all, what should I take? Number one thing, you have to look at facts. Facts are related to this important timings, appointments, anything factual that was discussed in the presentation or in the meeting. You have to look at issues, problems. What are the problems that are highlighted? And you can rank them, you can label them, you can number them, but you must distinguish fact from issues. Also, you have to look at decisions. In this sense, what is the decision? Is it a consensus based? Was it a majority? Was there a disagreement? So later on, when there is any consultation for these notes, you can directly recreate the situation and reimagine what was discussed at that time. Also, we are talking here about action plans, and in this sense, anything related to goals, targets with deadlines that needs to be taken, a task, a mission, and so on. So action plans are also part of your note-taking, and the ability of anybody to succeed while taking notes is based on her or his capacity to distinguish or structure his notes under these four major categories. Add to that category number 5, which is mainly questions and answers. And in this sense, you have to take notes of question team members, bring up during that were brought up during the meeting, and the answers that are given. And in this sense, if you group the notes under these 5 headings or these 5 titles, it will make it much easier in the future, so that you continue building and creating your notes in a very easy way and simple way. And in the same time, when you would like to come back to your documents, you can finally in a very short time recognize what were the decisions, what were the issues, what kind of questions were raised, what are the actions that were decided upon to do, and the deliverables related to deadlines. Now, the final part of my presentation, I would like to talk about how to review your notes. All of us, we know that we are surrounded by a lot of digital noise, and this digital noise is simply social media, access to alerts, and we are always connected to our smartphones, to our devices, which means that in this soup of information, we deal with a lot of distraction. And the span of concentration today is very short for many professionals. This means that the only way to get out of this noise, to have your notes, and you can do that by just going back to your notes and check what was written at that time, so that when you are under pressure and you have a meeting back to back and you forgot what was discussed in the last meeting, just grasp your notes, check very fast. You will need maybe 1 or 2 minutes as a preparation time for your new meeting, and directly you can get an insight on what was discussed and start already your meeting one step ahead by retaining all knowledge that and information that was discussed earlier. So reviewing notes is part of taking notes. It's not only about writing and keeping your notes far away from your eyes. You have to go back and check them. And in this sense, once you are under pressure, you have these sequential meetings, you can directly consult your minutes, or you can consult your notes, and then you can come back and make sure. And definitely, it is the only way that will make you stick to your goals. You have to take into account that we are always distracted. We are in a time that we can have a lot of things to do. There's a lot of ambitions, and it's very easy that teams change their goals, they change their objective, or even if you are working individually on your own project, that you can finally forget what was done, what was agreed upon to make. And in this sense, taking notes and reviewing them is the only way that makes you stick to your goals, because then you go back and you say, yes, I was thinking about that, I agreed about that, this was the discussion, and finally I have to stick to that, and to reduce the difference between what is on my agenda, the new things, new items I want to do, and between accomplishing what I did before. And believe me, people who succeed in their life, they are people who can finish, people who can terminate their tasks, and they do not add new or additional goals before they accomplish the original or primary goals that were set. And in this sense, note-taking is an important way or a skill that will keep you always on track to identify what was the frame of my work and what I wanted to do earlier, and then you stick back to it without diverting, without getting in distractions. Well, to conclude my presentation, the final words: keep into account that you need to write stuff down. That's a good habit. This is a professional habit. You will need it in an educational or in a professional environment. Be there, be present. You need to be alert, and taking notes will help you to do that. If you are directly behind your smartphone during a meeting or during an event, attending a presentation, make sure that you are not this is simply making sure that you are not focused. And to make sure that you are focused, take away your devices, get a piece of paper, get your notebook, and start to write directly, to be present and to articulate everything you are understanding, and to keep a trace for the ideas that are crossing your mind and concepts that are going in front of your eyes. In the same time, you must enjoy it, because note-taking, it's not like obligatory, it's not an administrative work, it's something really that is part of your journey. It's like when you doodle, you keep sketching. You can combine your notes with some sketches. When you are bored, you make a drawing, a scheme, and so on. So you can switch from your brain from writing to drawing. Therefore, I say you have to enjoy it to make sure that it's something that is a habit and that goes naturally while you are attending meetings or listening to important events or conference or lectures. And go back, find it, and review your notes, because the purpose here is not just to produce a bunch of papers with a lot of notes taken. The main purpose here is that you become coherent and consistent, and you stick to what was discussed, and you go back, visit these notes, and make sure that you benefit from them. By that, I would like to thank you, and I would like to invite you to subscribe to the channel if you're interested to get information about future videos. And I would like to thank you for listening to this lecture on note-taking. Thank you for your attention.